all belongs to you. For our heart, our souls, our mind, everything that we are belongs to the Lord. It comes from the Lord and it goes back to the Lord. My love.
I ask that you use me as a mouthpiece today, that you will speak through me, because we all know that I'm quite shy, so I will need your supernatural strength to come to me. I pray that this message will bless the one who needs it, and yes, in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Okay, so Germans say Zeit vergeht schnell, and was du heute kannst besorgen, das geschieht nicht auf morgen, which means if you can do it today, don't postpone it. Genau, exactly. So if we have something to do for God, then the time is now. We don't need to say we have time. Now is the time. Now is the time to be with God, to do something for God. So therefore the topic for my message is redeemed, for now is the time. There's this German preacher and also evangelist, I would say, and he has a quote which says, "Our vocation is to transform the passing time, which is chronos in Greek, into existential time, an encounter, and thus to fulfill the time." So the topic for my message is taken from Paul's letter to the Ephesians chapter 5, and I want to give us a brief background on the book of Ephesians. Ephesians is a part of Paul's prison letters, and he established a ministry in Ephesus, and therefore his audience for this message is the church. And also it's different from other letters like the letter to Timothy, which is a personal letter. This one is for every church member, so that was a little bit for the background. So now I'm going to explain the passage. So Paul, by encouraging the audience about redeeming the time, gives both negative and also positive examples on how one can do that, on how one can redeem the time. And regarding that, they were encouraged to do certain things and to not do other things. And let's start with the do-nots. I think as youth, it's often we want to be free and we think, the Bible is just a book that is full of restrictions and we're not allowed to do this, we cannot do this and do that. But what I can say is that obviously God is not done. If He commands us to do something, it is for our own good. And therefore, one of the things he says, Paul encourages us not to do, is to not be unwise. So not being unwise is basically, being wise would be not wasting time. So how do you not waste time? If you know who you are in Christ, if you know your identity, and if you are living your life with purpose, you will not waste time. Therefore, you would be foolish if you don't know the will of God. So not knowing the will of God and walking in purposelessness would be first unwise and also foolish, which He also commands us not to be. And the third point would be to not get drunk on wine, as everyone read before. I believe that one is a very important one because as youth we face many temptations, peer pressure, and for example, when you're in school and everyone is, I don't know, in the worst case, doing drugs, smoking weed, or drinking too much, we might feel pressure to do the same thing because we don't want to be the only one that's not doing it. We're scared. We don't want to be weird. So the pressure makes us do it in the end. But if you get drunk, or just drinking in general, it's a quite expensive hobby. Because once you get addicted to it, you will want to drink the whole time. And you will want to escape reality by drinking and drinking, which will eventually be bad for your health, and you lose respect and social acceptance. I think an example would be, there are some homeless people who drink quite a lot, and therefore people in the train, if they come and even ask us for money, one might not give them because we think they will spend the money on their hobby, which is to drink, and then at the end of the day they will harm themselves again. So it's an expensive hobby. And it's a fact, like I mentioned, that those temptations will come and that there's no escape to temptations. But as it says in James chapter 4, verse 7, resist the devil and he shall flee from you. So, amen. So we shouldn't worry about that one. And also, another quote from the Bible would be, God will never give us something that's too big for us. So for every situation, there's a way out. There's nothing that we cannot conquer. And with Jesus by our side. Amen. Amen. We ask Allah. Amen. So let's go to the do's. Since I said the do-nots were do not be unwise and do not be foolish and so on, the do's would be wise and be careful. When we do something, I think it's important that we have the future in mind. We shouldn't do things that are only enjoyable in the moment, because then we will do things that we will regret later on in the name of fun. But most of the time, when the consequences come by, it's not that fun, to be honest. It's not that fun. So it's important to be careful and wise when it comes to decision making. Like I said, everything we do has consequences. And some mark your life forever. For example, teen pregnancy, I think it's a common topic. Many women or men are not prepared to become a mother or a father, but because of carelessness and because of maybe even pressure or because they want to have fun, they end up having a child, and then they realize that they're a child themselves and cannot really look after it. So this is an extreme example, but it happens. It happens. I mean, the youngest age that I know is someone got pregnant at the age of 11, I think. So it's not easy. You don't want to go through something like this. Yes. Something else is also, as a teenager, when everyone is getting into a relationship and you know you want to wait, or you have the type of husband you want in your mind, then it's still easy to settle for less than you deserve. And when you settle for someone from whom you already know he's not a Christian, or you don't have the same values or anything, it might end in heartbreak or worse. So we don't want to do it, do we? Yeah. The second do's that Paul encourages us to do is speak well with one another in hymns and psalms. Depending on your cultural background, there are a lot of things that come in line with things like bad things that are part of your culture. For example, gossip. It's something that's in every culture, and we all know it's not good, but in some cultures, I am a dorsal. Gossiping would be a bad example of speaking well with one another. Instead, we should encourage one another. And an example that the Bible has is, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So instead, we should be filled with the Spirit. And how are we filled with the Spirit? We are filled with the Spirit by prayer, by reading the Bible, and by fellowship, by positive fellowship. The stress is on positive because, like I said, if it's not positive, it can result in negative peer pressure. And so we should surround ourselves with like-minded people who will support us in our walk and not hinder us from the work of God. Amen. Amen. Yes. The third point is sing and make music. I believe saying that I who said you for a no topa. So, as your youth, I think music can be a beautiful field to develop your talents, to even recognize your own gifts, as we saw today. So instead of going out and trying to be drunk, you can just come and sing. God bless you. And I think, as for the singing part, as youth, when we are facing hard times, like when we are depressed or when we're sad, we can really use it to just cry out to the Lord. Whatever is on our heart, we can just sing it out. And we're not supposed to tell anyone, we can just do it. Amen. So, the fourth point would be always give thanks. Sometimes we don't understand what's going on in our lives. Maybe something hard happened in your life, like a relative dying or a sudden accident or something you just wouldn't expect to happen. And since we don't always know the will of God or the mind of God, it's important that we just that we're just humble and that we just give thanks to Him, even when we don't feel like it. When we don't feel like it at all, it's actually the perfect time to give thanks. So this is also something that Paul encourages us to do. Amen. Amen. So in the beginning I said that this is my first time. But I drew conclusions this year to Islam. So the conclusion that I have is use your time wisely and make the most out of it. Really, you don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't know so you never know what's going on. And therefore, by making the most of your time, you're truly living. Walk in fellowship with the Lord every day. And from now, not tomorrow, from now until you die, for now is the time.